Tuperas. I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. Today on Duke by the River, we're going to look back at the game against the Red Bull. Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen, what a win. We're also going to look ahead against DC United. We got a special guest to break that down as well. And don't you dare go anywhere because you do not want to miss this episode of Duke by the River. And let's get this started, guys. Hey, done it! And that is right. Welcome, everyone, to Duke by the River, the show where we follow everything Philadelphia Union, brought to you by Philly Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, everyone. Thank you so much, whether you're coming from YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, or TikTok. Thank you so much for tuning on in. Let me introduce to you guys my panel of expert Doopers here, ladies and gentlemen. First up, let me introduce to you guys my man, Justin Bam, Bald Allocation Money Freiberg. Justin, what's going on tonight, baby?
Not much, Johnny. It's good to have you back. I know I had to range for 1 week,
and you killed it.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. I can say I can remember why I was no longer glad to be hosting any podcast. It's a lot, but hey, we're here to talk about Red Bull and DC United and why we won one game and we're gonna win another.
Absolutely. Hey, I like where your head's at. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 442 Diamond Podcast. I'm Jamiro Montero. We have Casper Shabilko and Sergio Santos here, and this is all it is, man. And I'm okay with taking all that as long as we got you two giving the people the knowledge that they need when it comes to Union soccer. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And of course, as well, my man, Mr. Tim Lovinguth, who is rocking the PSN swagger, if I may say so myself. What's up, Tim? How you doing, man? Good to see you.
I'm doing great, and yeah, shouts to Justin for holding it down last week.
Yeah, Justin.
Mental health is no joke, and when you have those little bits of anxiety and depression, sometimes when things pop up, you can't record. So I appreciate Justin. Shouts to Mike Thomas. I don't know if he's right now, but Mike came on and helped out as well. But yeah, no, I'm happy to be back this week talking a Union win and that they get to go down to DC and keep that streak alive, because there's a streak down there against DC United that we're going to talk about a little bit.
Oh, yes, absolutely. No, seriously, thank you to Mike. Thank you to Matt as well from Posts and Pints as well. It really means a lot to me. Like, obviously last week I was away on vacation, my first vacation since obviously pre-COVID and the weird year that we had. So being able to have Justin, everyone at PSN and, great friends to the pod like Mike, like Matt, we have so many great friends like that. Being able to rely on people like that, it's so beautiful. We really appreciate the community that we have here. It's all for the love of the game. That's really all it is. Colorado was great, guys. Real quick, man. Listen, if you guys have the opportunity to go to Colorado, if it's for a Rapids match, which I'll get to that in a second, definitely go out there. Definitely go out there.
Listen, you're making me.
This is not a paid programming.
No, I was supposed to go out there last Memorial Day weekend.
Same.
To go see the Rapids Union game. Yep. I was going out. I was going to stay with my cousin, and I knew I had to cancel, but I was like, I knew what it was, and I was like, So I was a little jealous. I saw this.
So obviously I didn't go to a match. I think they played the night before when I was there. So I just wanted to do my TikTok thing. I did one in front of Dick's Sporting Goods Park. I will say it does give remnants of MLS 2.0, kind of like Subaru Park does. But I honestly, even I go out to Commerce City. It's not in Denver. It's in Commerce City. I love that. Honestly, I love that because I can just imagine like match days out there. It's kind of the stadium is kind of in the middle of nowhere. There's like a neighborhood, like maybe like a minute away. But no, it's kind of like similar how you see Chester, right? It's a little secluded. And I love that because I know when I'm in Chester, no one's going to bother me. It's just a Union family. You have maybe the opposing side, a couple fans here and there, but I just love that. So shout to the Rapids Nation. Dick's Sporting Good Parks is a great one, and definitely you guys got to check that one out. But guys, let's get into what we got here today. Before we get into any action on the pitch for blue and gold, I want to talk about the MLS. They dropped the parlay jerseys on us, boys. We got parlay jerseys again. You guys know the deal. MLS doing their part of, just trying to, preserve our earth. I don't think that's a bad thing. You get some dope soccer swag, right? And then you get it's a good cause in as well. So the parlay jerseys have been announced, have been released. It's different colorways, you may say. So there's ones where it's like a kind of like a light blue white going on with blue trimming, and then you have another one where it's like a darker blue. Actually, kind of looks like the Columbia jersey we've seen Justin don a little bit with a little. I think it's like a red trimming, but. We'll start with Tim today, man. So how do you like these jerseys here this season with the parlays?
Yeah, I mean, they're good. This has always been something that I think is a great cause. It never tickles me enough to go buy a jersey, but I like the idea behind it. This year they're using, they keep saying it's recycled ocean plastic, which is part of the jerseys. It's built into the jersey. So, more about MLS trying to be a sustainable league, things along those lines. The colors are cool. But yeah, it's not enough for me to go buy one, especially when the Union just dropped that fire home or away jersey. I keep wanting to call it the home jersey.
Is that what we're wearing today, Justin?
No, this is the Pride
Pride
thing.
Pride Night jersey. That was also a good one. I wasn't able to get to the store when they had them this past weekend.
I definitely would cop one too, man.
Yeah.
It's definitely nice. Yeah, I wish we could wear some of those like out on the pitch instead of like being practice ones. The Union had so many beautiful practice ones. Like I remember the playoff one, the Artesano, when we first saw. Those were just beautiful as well. So I would definitely wish we could get some more of that. Justin, what are you thinking, man? Is this going to be part? Are you going to get the? Oh, well, I guess we can't get the Columbia one. I guess you can if you really wanted to. The one that looks like Columbia. But what do you think about these?
If the Union had the darker one, I would have. Yeah, I don't know. I had a bunch of people say to me that like they're getting it, and I'm like, and people looked at me mainly because they know I will buy a good looking jersey. And I looked at it and I went, I just wasn't feeling it. Like it.
I feel you.
I know that I every year that the Union have had the parlay, they've had the opposite color of the one I wanted, and so I was like, every year I'm like. I'm like, if you give me the opposite one, I would buy that. And I'm like, this one, I'm just like, I'm not feeling it.
I feel you. And that's crazy because we all know Justin has a budget and he holds a certain amount in that budget for soccer jerseys. And he's saying, this ain't good enough, MLS. I need more. Hey, we respect
that's when it's serious if I'm saying no.
I mean, to be honest with these jerseys, if it had been swapped and the Union got the dark blue ones, the crest would have been a red color. So I don't know. I don't know if many fans would have been happy with that.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. Well, definitely, guys, if you are interested, definitely they're on MLS.com. You can check those out. I'm sure. So on the weekend of May, so next week, so Memorial Day weekend, they'll be presented. I'm sure you can buy them, even if you aren't a Union fan. I'm sure you can buy them at your local stadium or team store. So definitely check those out on MLS.com. Next bit of news of note, guys. CCL date confirmation, ladies and gentlemen. It is finally been arrived here. So we have official dates. On August 12th, the Philadelphia will be traveling down to Mexico, La Ciudad de Mexico, at 10 p.m. to face off against Club America in Estadio Azteca, the famous Estadio Azteca. And then on September 15th, they will come back up here at Chester at Super Park, a 9 p.m. kickoff there. That will be leg 2. So make sure you have time now. Get your plans ready. Listen, I would love to go down to Mexico, but I'm not making any promises. But yes, so we have these dates here set in stone. With that being said, a couple matches actually got rescheduled. Our September 3rd match against the our New England Revolution match in September got rescheduled September 3rd. And then on our late September, early October, I'm not sure when that was originally, but FC Cincinnati now is moved to October 9th at 7:30. Boys, does this get you even more juiced up for CCL semis?
Definitely. I know the one thing that, and I know Tim and I definitely talked about this. Man, those start times. Like,
yeesh.
like you talk about a 10 p.m. start for the game on the 12th, which for me is going to be very difficult because I have a recital dinner for a wedding I'm in that Saturday, the next day. So I am going to be straight up exhaustion for several days. The other one is at 9 p.m. Man, like we got picked with the worst time slot for those.
Ooh, okay, Heather. Shouts to Heather from in charge of travel business with the Sons of Ben. Okay. We
Yeah, if she wants to break some news on the podcast, she just has to send a chat over. We could get her on here, and she could break some news if she has anything, But I know she can't say it yet.
I can do one better here. Luckily, oh, not that, not right there. But yes, yeah. So we have those dates set in stone. Listen, I would definitely love to go. But I agree with you, Justin. Yeah, it always sucks when you have to face off against the other coast because of those late games. But for sure. Heather, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you the link if you would love to come on. Of course, like I've told you before, you are always more than welcome to come on to DOOP by the River. So I sent you the link through your DMs if you want to come on for a quick second there.
I did see real quick.
Yes,
some people are asking why the late kickoff times, and I do know that it is because CONCACAF likes to have the games they think are going to draw the most viewers at a later time rather than an earlier time. Parts of their statistics show that they get more viewers if it's at a later time at night. I even heard that they wanted to have the Union's home game start at 10 p.m., not 9 p.m., but the Union were like, our fans, we need to have it be at at least a little bit more reasonable time, so we're going to start at 9. And y'all are going to be okay with that.
Tim, were these analytics run by a certain president of a Super League club who insists that people of our age, can't watch full 90-minute matches?
I don't know about that, but I mean, it's CONCACAF numbers, so you don't really trust it anyways.
That's so CONCACAF.
So they might be fudged.
There's probably a little bit, but hey, if they say that they want this game to be in the most watchable time slot, I mean that's a good thing, right? You're getting more eyes on the Philadelphia Union.
Yeah, but think about us. Think about us is what I say to CONCACAF.
I mean, if you're not going to be up for this game, I don't know. Listen.
I do not appreciate my dedication being called out. I'm just saying that you can make it more convenient for people.
They could
stay up. I'm still going to ruin my sleep schedule, but you can make it more convenient.
I was waiting for Justin to be like that typical Philly sports fan on Philly Sports Radio. Yeah, listen here, dude. I've been a fan since 2006. You can't tell me how long.
Listen, I can say that. Listen, I was there at the first game. I've been through all the crap with Andy Dufresne and Shawshank.
You weren't there for Sakevich.
Yeah, I was gonna say you weren't there for a coach slapping asses. Like,
yeah.
Where were you? Where were you when we had free haircuts?
Where were you when they got kicked out of Chester Park?
Oh man.
Where were you when we got free bread?
Yo.
Good times, guys. Good times. Last bit of news and note. Kind of bad news, sad news for us, Union fans who've been there since Sakevich, right? Elsinho out for 2 months. Kind of saw this happening. Listen, I love Elsinho. He gave me some great memories, but I will say I'm kind of looking forward to life after Elsinho, if that makes sense. So when I watched the Union the past couple of years, it was evident, second half, you need an offensive spark. We know where Jim's going. It's going to be a 4-2-3-1, Elsinho getting out there at the wing. And that, I felt like last year it kind of started being, teams were catching up. Like teams found a way to kind of stop that. And Elsinho is getting older. I mean, he's like in his 30s, 30 something now. I think he's the oldest player on this team, if I'm not mistaken. And it'd be nice to kind of look at life after El Seno, who are these bench players, and I think we've got good young options who can grow into being good, solid bench pieces for this team. So yes, I don't want it to end like this. I think he'll be fine. Like I think he'll become later on down the season. Maybe around Club America time, we can probably see El Seno out there. But yeah, man, I'm just looking forward to life after El Seno. Hopefully, he does come back nice and healthy. But that's just how I feel about the El Seno situation.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think last year was starting the weaning off process of needing El Seno, because you looked at last year and there was something different about this team. Like 2019 was good, but it was still like 2018 was the El Seno year. 2019 was, well, El Seno's still like a very big part of the Union. 2020 was like, it's great having him come off the bench, but you don't necessarily, like, you're not desperate. The team could come back. Last year, like that was one thing that's been different since last year, was the team has that capability, that willingness to come back, even if it's a goal or two down. It feels like they're never really out of it. Yeah. So they've definitely done that, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how, because I have a feeling this is his last season with the team.
I do too.
But I think the team will give him a absolute proper send off. I wouldn't expect, for a guy who in his short time here, I mean, what has it been, like 3 or 4 years? He's meant a lot to this team, to the city, and I think everyone has nothing but respect for him. I know I certainly do, and I think he's going to get the proper send off if that's the case.
Yeah, like his creativity alone was that game changer, and we even saw, he came in that one game early on this season. I believe it was against Miami, where he did get that, re-aggravate that injury.
Yeah, man.
But it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Union. Like Justin said, 2020 they kind of went away from the 4-2-3-1. So even when he came on, he didn't play as a winger per se. He was sort of still, a 10 or a striker, right, a second striker. But yeah, hopefully he gets back to full health right around Club America time, and maybe the super sub. You never know what happens when you throw him on the pitch. He could find a moment of brilliance for sure.
Absolutely. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, you can find him on the latest stream, his Twitch stream. He's been killing it on there, so definitely you can find him on there and give him some good morale. Make sure you keep him in your high spirits there. But speaking of which, so the team that El Seno notoriously always killed, the New York Red Bull, they were in town on Saturday, facing off against our boys in blue down in Subaru Park. And
wait, I'm sorry, you said Red Bull. I only know the pink cows. I mean, same team, right? I think
when he said Red Bull, I thought Salzburg. Wait, Brendan was back?
Yeah, Brendan came back. What do we?
I definitely don't want to see Brennan in the New York Red uniform. That's for sure. Definitely would be paying for that one there. But huge win by our boys in blue. 1-0 victory. Now look, 1-0 usually it's not a big win, but when you beat the Pink Cows, as Justin alluded to, it is always a great day. The 10 years we have to deal with those guys, and for a while they were the better team, yes, but times have changed. The I-95 belongs to Philly. Still does. And we definitely took it to them. Obviously, I was in Denver. I was away, so I didn't get to watch too much of the match. But just watching the goal right off a goal kick, Corey Burke getting that header, and then Fontana to Montero. Corey making the beautiful run, extending those long legs of his to get that ball behind Coronel. It was Coronel had to get
botched by Coronel in that one.
Yeah,
that not a great.
That sucks, man.
Yeah, the angle for Corey was tough. So yeah, Carlos didn't use himself in a lot of glory.
That was definitely nice. But yes, the Union, a great job on that goal. That's all they really needed. They played a solid defensive match against this team. I was definitely worried about Caden Clark. I know what Caden Clark is. I know he's going to be a good player here and, of course, over in Europe when that day comes for him. But we just flat out was a good performance, and they got the job done. A huge 1-0 win. Tim, what did you see on Saturday that was working for the boys, man? We got this big win.
the thing that worked the most for them was they got the early goal, and that's something we've seen the Union have been able to do over at least last season. They would score early, and then they would kind of just dominate teams. Against Red Bull, it's a little bit different in that they both try to press. So it was essentially, can you beat the player in front of you? And if you can beat the player in front of you, then you'll most likely end up with a good chance. And the Union were able to put that one away in the 9th minute. So that was the main thing there. I would say the rest of the match, the Union probably should have had a few more goals there. You know, Carlos Coronel made 4 good saves, I would say, on the night. Union dominated in shots. They had 12 shots, 5 of them were on goal. So, I mean, you could tell there's still problems in the attack. It's something that someone like Daniel Gazdag would definitely help with to create some more chances there. But it was, kind of like you said, Caden Clark didn't have it. He was kind of playing as a shuttler midfielder rather than a 10 because they had Frankie Amaya at the 10. Leon Flock shut down Frankie Amaya. And then when Clark was sort of running down their left side, the Union's right, it was Olivier and Bizo shut him down and then forced Clark to defend. And he's a great offensive talent, but the kid is not a good defender right now, and Bizo made him look silly on multiple occasions. The Union never looked troubled after they scored, which is a good thing. But I think even Jim Curtin said it after the game, it probably should have been a 2-0, 3-0 Union win because of their defensive and they got out, 1-0. But they're kind of nervy at the end of the game for sure because there's only 1 goal.
Hey, absolutely, man. It definitely with holding a 1-goal lead is the scariest thing in soccer, but they definitely got the job done there. Justin, what did you see, man, on the performance?
Yeah, like Tim said, one of the biggest things was that early goal. I mean, it came off an innocuous goal kick. And that ball was brought down, and then Jamiro with a pretty well-weighted ball, which, again, Cornell could have done better on the save. Maybe coming out, I don't know necessarily if he would have been able to get to that because it was pretty close to Corey. And then Corey it wasn't perfect, but he stretched out for it. And you definitely could have gotten more. But the biggest thing that happened, and I said this last week on the pod, was you needed to shut down Caden Clark. And the Union did a really good job of that. And I talked with Matt actually after the game about this. And I said, because we had talked about it, and he goes, yeah, if you can shut down Caden Clark, it's like with New England and Carlos Heel. The offense, even when he's playing as a shuttler, the offense runs through Caden Clark.
Yeah. And
literally, Matt, the first thing Matt told me was, man, your center backs bossed him around. And that was absolutely true. And Bizo did a great job of shutting him down on that wing. But when Caden tried to go into the middle, Glesnes stood his ground. And I don't know if you're aware, but Jakob Glesnes is a very tall man. He is a very, very, he's a very big dude. And I mean, he stood his ground. His job is really to make offensive players' lives miserable. And he did a fantastic job of that. I mean, Jack Elliott's job really is to be similar to Mark McKenzie in that cleaning up the messes, tracking that runner deep. And Jack did a perfect job of that. But that's what he was also allowed to really have his passing range. But again, shutting down Caden Clark was, for me, the absolute crucial thing because they wanted to do, initially it looked like, usually they go with a 4-4-2, but it looked like in that game, it felt more like a 4-2-3-1. At least the way that, because, and I talked with Matt, Fabio up top that was it. Yeah. And I think Amaya was in the middle and you had Caden Clark on the one wing, which, again, the Union kind of go in and out of that formation too. So I think that's why you could say that's why he was on Bizo's side, because if it would have been a diamond, he would have been on that side. But because it was more of a 4-2-3-1, he was definitely out on that left wing, our right wing. And it was great. He was shut down. Like that, I mean, Fabio, I will say, I think Matt is right in that kid looks like he could be something special for them. He tried. I saw him working his butt off to try to get in. I mean, he was setting balls up. He was laying, passes off. He was doing. Reminded me of like CJ Sapong and doing all the dirty work and not getting any real credit and not getting. I mean, yeah, he leads the league in assists, but it didn't look like he wasn't getting on the stat sheet just because of the way the Union were really making it difficult for him to do what he does best. And I saw it wasn't for a lack of effort. It definitely just looked like he really wasn't going to get into the game. But no, I mean, listen, the Union defense, that has never been in question. My hope is that the Union offense gets kicked into gear because it is very clear our defense can hold its own. I mean, Andre Blake is still Andre Blake in that the level that he's been playing since last year. You have a center back pairing which has gotten a lot of work, but you know what? They're doing a pretty good job. And you have two good wing backs, and you know what? That's all really you need. Now you just need the scoring to get kicked into gear, at least on a more consistent basis. And I wonder if, and I know we hadn't heard anything, will Gazdag is he even in the country for DC?
Yeah,
I did not hear a single thing. So if Jim's giving that secret, it's the best kept secret in
That would be nice. But I did want to ask this too, and someone brought this up. Really good question. Obviously, Aaron Long's injury, definitely. We don't listen. We're Union fans, and we don't want to see that happen. But that definitely, and I know you guys are both big U.S. men's national team fans, so that's kind of big for you guys there. Tim, man, what did you see and your thoughts on the injury, man?
To be honest, at the match, I saw a Red Bull player that needed to be helped off. I didn't see who it was, and Red Bull was out of subs, so there was no, announcement of who was the player sitting off to the side. It wasn't until after the game that I realized, oh, crap, that's Aaron Long, and he does not look good. He needed help to walk, and then hear about the knee injury and how he's going to be out for the season, and now he can't feature for the U.S. men's national team in Nations League or Gold Cup or wherever he might be called to, and he's been getting those call-ups. It's a devastating blow for Red Bull and the U.S. men's national team. I haven't been that high on Aaron Long as a player since he requested for his move the last off season. I think he gets a little bit cocky at times, and especially even in this game, you could tell he was frustrated when he was playing on the pitch. He's kind of pushing players around and trying to assert his dominance, but it didn't really work. And then he got calls, against him for it later in the match. But yeah, obviously to see a player go off with that type of injury, again, I didn't really see who it was. But yeah, that, his dream was to go to Europe, and that's going to be delayed again because of this injury. And quite honestly, yeah, it's probably Red Bull's fault that he didn't go when he could have gone. I think his value was very high when he requested that he would go to Europe, and the club said no. So sucks for the player and for Aaron Long. Sucks for the Red Bull and U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely is. It was definitely sad to hear that happen. Like I said, man, we're Union guys here, but we don't ever want to see that happen there, man. And is a guy who's been a consistent, star here in the MLS as far as the center back goes over the past couple seasons. So definitely, it hurts for those guys. But big win, like I said, big win, a 1-0 win. Union kind of slow getting into that rhythm that we saw them kind of last season and even the season before. And now we had a nice week, guys. It felt kind of good, having a little bit of some time between the Red Bull match and our next match against, of course, we got to now go down south to DC against DC United. As Tim alluded to a little earlier, we got a little streak going on there. So we got DC United. So as you know, guys, we love to get guests here. We love to get people on here who know the team, who cover the team, kind of like what we do for the Union. So today, we truly have been blessed. We were lucky to have a DC United podcast RFK Refuge. These guys know everything that is with DC United, and we Tim and Justin were blessed enough to be on their pod last night. So we're gonna get them on here tonight. They're gonna give us a DC perspective here for Sunday's match. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please introduce RFK Refuge. We got John Hoffman and we got Ted Meyer. What's going on, gentlemen? How are we doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Doing good.
We're doing great here. We're happy to have some DC eyes here to kind of tell us what's been going on. But first off, thank you so much for hopping on in. But we wanted to start off here, guys, getting to know both Ted and John. Who is these RFK Refuge guys? How did this podcast start? And talk a little bit about what the podcast is about. Whoever would like to take that away.
John, do you want me to start? I guess.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I did another podcast. I don't know how long you guys have been following soccer, but there was a podcast called Around the League that I was really blessed to be a part of, and I was a host for that podcast. And John was our DC United correspondent. He wrote for I think for a blog at the time called The Offside. So we hung out, we talked soccer, and we kind of kept communication up. I had job changes that forced me to leave that show. I even tried to bring it back at one point, and it didn't quite work out. But John's been a great guy, and we were talking, and he had brought up doing a DC podcast, and then we kind of let it go, and then I messaged him again. So we've been talking soccer for a while. So it was kind of an easy connection. I think we got off to the ground running.
And we got started right in the middle of the supporters group controversy at the opening of the stadium, which was a ratings boon to a new podcast. Really set us up well. Gotta say thank you to the team and the groups for being unable to work with each other for those couple weeks. Really,
thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom Hunt, for that. I guess we should send a royalties check to Tom Hunt. I guess every year or something like that for his stupidity.
Well, we know a thing or two about supporter group drama here, but anyways, to other points out there. But no, very awesome. It's funny too. I really love you guys use the RFK in your name. I don't think Tim and Justin know this very much, but I'm obsessed. I'm telling you, I'm obsessed with abandoned type of things. Now I know RFK is. It does look abandoned. I'm sorry. It does look abandoned.
It is technically abandoned because it is. What's it called when you can't go into a building, but because the
condemned.
Condemned. It's condemned, literally.
Condemned,
so.
Yeah.
So that to me fascinates the crap. RFK, Izod Center, the Houston Astrodome, those places are so fascinating to me. The fact that we have stadiums that are abandoned like that. But regardless, I love that. Well, how did you guys come up with that name, actually? Did you guys just want to give...
that was, believe it or not, we were spitballing names. That is the first one that came out of my brain. I don't think there was another one. I think we just went with that and alliteration, and somebody did a logo for us, and we were off to the races. So...
Yeah, I think John was. I think we're we're gonna be a real low key super supporter focused. We weren't expecting to get really that big. I don't know if we would have chosen the same name if we knew we would get as big as we did after the whole supporter controversy. But the name sticks. I think it's a homage to our team's history. I miss RFK. I think every day. I miss Lot 8. I miss a lot of those things. Yeah.
What do you miss about it? What is it that you miss about it?
There's so much community that is kind of lost. When you go to Audi Field is still a great stadium to watch a game. The sight lines are really nice, but Lot 8 really made RFK. When you went to the tailgates that they had, if you guys haven't ever been to one or never got to go to one, I'm sorry. They were legendary. The supporters.
I went to one with the Sons of Ben back in 2014. One of the last few years they went down there. So that was a fun time.
It reinforces the communal effort of soccer. And before COVID, I felt like I'd kind of gotten back to it at Richmond because the Kickers we got our own location to tailgate and everything. So. That's been really nice, but I think it was the whole communal effort of it. The team at the time, when I started really going to games when I was living up in that area and then moved to Richmond, the team wasn't very good. So you kind of miss those things. I miss the history of the stadium. When you walked in there were so many good memories. I guess that's really what it came down to, John. I don't know if you felt the same, but
no, I think I've described it on the show as it felt like no parents' house. Like I felt like the place where you go over to your friend's house and the parents weren't there and you could do whatever you wanted and you could break stuff and it wouldn't matter because it wasn't your house and who cares. So it really was like that. There are so many times where there would something would fall off the roof, the chair would break. The field would flood. The lights would cut out. It was
Sounds
just
like Veterans Stadium.
It was yes. It's got a body count almost, the stadium. So it was a real. It was a real.
Do you have a judge and a court in the basement too?
I don't know. There's no drunk tank, unfortunately. That was before the era of the drunk tank. But yeah, I miss it because of that. Like Ted said, there's no bad seats in Audi Field. It just doesn't have the character yet. It just takes. So give it 60 years. I'm sure they'll.
I was gonna say you just need like a little chisel, like for infrastructure to start falling off. Just start like walking around with like a pickaxe and just go. All right, I'm gonna make my own little. Be like RFK again.
We'll be deliberately aging it. It's like distressing.
Well, there are already plans. They're going to implode the stadium soon. So soon it'll be no more, which is very sad. And I don't know if there'll be a crowd out front. I might try to make it out there for when they.
I definitely would.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's one thing I regret. Never was there for the Veterans Stadium demolishing, but not many stadiums can say they were the home for 3 professional teams. Obviously, you guys have a long history of baseball. It was the Senators back in the day, and then obviously
Nationals. Also
Nationals. The football team was there for all the Super Bowls, and then obviously DC United. So it definitely very cool. But
don't forget the Nats. Don't forget the Dips. Do not forget the Dips and Team America as well. So don't forget those.
What are these teams? The Dips and who else?
The Washington Diplomats of the NA. You clearly don't follow. You clearly don't follow Pablo Maurer if you don't know who the Washington Diplomats are. He floods that constantly.
Getting into Pablo. I'm starting to get into Pablo there. All right, so we went down a little memory lane with DC United here. So let's get to this version of DC United. A lot has changed. Tim alluded to kind of our winning streak at Audi Field. It's kind of been evident. It's been like I hate to put it to you guys. You guys seem like nice guys, but it's been essentially like a second home away from home. Since it's been the home of DC United. But this current DC United team, very interesting. I've heard a lot about Hernan Losal, obviously Argentine manager who was managing in Belgium. I was watching your guys, so I didn't watch the match, but I was reading the stats, the lineups, and everything against Orlando City. The tactics, I was like, wait, what was that formation? It was like a 3-1-4-2. I was like, wow, that is some creative ass tactics there. So Ted or John, whoever, what is this DC United in 2021 like?
Good question. I think it depends. It depends on how many bodies we have on the field, on the sidelines. It's been we don't know. To be honest with you, right now, it is such a work in progress for a number of reasons. It's a work in progress because, as you said, Hernan Losada is instituting a new style of play, a new formation, and he has. I would not blame him, but there are like on a good day, 14 players, 15 players that could play because all the rest of them are injured. We're getting back to full health now, close to full health. We had a full bench for the first time all season last game, so progress on that front. But I think if you look at the statistics, it's one of those things where your eye test and the score line and sort of the advanced analytics do not all jive at once. When you look at it, you're like, you look at that San Jose game where they get blown out. You look at some of the other games there. If you look at sort of the expected goals scored and expected goals defended, they're at 0.1. So it's pretty much for where they are in the season. They should be sort of where they are. The only 2 games they've been negative in expected goals were the 2 games that they won, if you can believe that. All the other games they've been ahead. Against Chicago and against New York City FC, they were behind. And New York City FC, they were way behind. Their 2 goals were they should not have happened. They were both of them were completely long shots. So it's tough, but it's tough for us to say what this team is going to be because we haven't even seen the first choice 11.
Yeah, Ted? Yeah, and I think right now the biggest thing that Hernan is bringing is like a sense of like he's very clear in what he wants the team to be. And how he wants the team to eventually play. And he's instituting some things that I think need to happen. This team has been kind of stuck in neutral for years, probably since about 2010. They've been, it's Ben, we of the show here love Ben. Like, Ben's a great guy, fantastic person. He was never a guest on our show, unfortunately. We're still a little mad about that, but absolutely, like, one of the most, like, personable guys you'll ever meet. But you never got the sense that he, like, I think he would kind of allude to things he wanted to do, and then he tried them, and then we'd be losing, and then it would be like, all right, let's just go back to what we were doing. Let's bunker the ball. Let's fight hard, grit, all that stuff. And what Hernan has brought, I think, is he says, I want to play direct. I want to play high press. So he wants to basically do what the Red Bulls kind of do, in a way, in that they want to be a high pressing team and really get after the game. They're going to concede possession. That's their goal. And they're going to, like, be at like 30%, 40% possession. But they're going to get the ball, and then their ideas go. And I felt, when he came into that when he came into that style, and he was talking about that style, that's the style I wanted DC to play. Because in 2018, when we had probably our most successful run in a while, where we looked like we could potentially, maybe win MLS Cup, maybe be in that competition spot, they played sort of a selective press with Wade Rooney and Lucho. And it was very successful. And I've always been, I have never bought into the notion that you have to play like Pep Guardiola. I feel like all these coaches look at Pep, I need to do that. I need to be a passing team, but possession. Yeah, you could do it if you have the world's best players, but if you don't, come up with something else, because come up with ways to win games. And I feel like that's what Hernan is bringing. He's like, this is the style I want to play. This is what I want to do. It's going to be direct. It's going to be attacking. And frankly, most fans who pay attention, who watch week in and week out, despite maybe some of the losses and some of the ways we've looked, are actually very positive about the team, which has been a change. I mean, if DC is having this year right now, there are already calls for Ben Olsen's head at this point. Like, it's been really nice to see kind of a recognition of what Hernan is trying to do with this team.
Very, very, very interesting here. Very interesting here. Buy one of Ben's paintings.
There was
he's a good painter. He is a good painter.
The another one of the previous comments was talking about the win against Vasco da Gama. You guys have to win Champions League so that you guys can be the best MLS team in history. Because right now, currently, we're the only ones to win any sort of continental or regional championship from the MLS. So, best.
Hey man, we're the Inter America Cup is forever. I actually got to hold that trophy. It's pretty incredible.
That is pretty cool. Our club has not been around that long, but no, I mean, DC, listen, it was the first dynasty. It was when from 96 or maybe until like what, I guess you could say 2006, around that, 10 years. You guys were the face of the MLS essentially. How far do you guys think till you guys can get back to that point, or you guys think you'll ever get back to that point?
You mean, do we ever think we'll be as dominant as we were in those first 10 years? No.
Really?
No, we do not. No, absolutely not. Unfortunately, so I know a lot has been talked about this, but DC United really capitalized on MLS 1.0 by understanding where the value could be found in the international market, bringing in South American players, capitalizing in a way that no other team at the time was really doing. And that's, and they had success. And now there's, I think, really the one major way to be successful is to have a billionaire owner like Arthur Blank. That's helpful. That's a good start. And the other way is sort of the way that you and FC Dallas are doing it. It's sort of really plowing all of your money into young assets and selling them on and reinvesting and going on and on and so forth. DC is beginning to learn about that. I think that they're starting to figure out that the value there is those young players are developing. But we're sort of in between, right? I think that the Hernan Losada hire was meant to be a restart on the soccer on the field, a restart on the philosophy around the play. There's not a big change in spending on the roster. We brought in a few players this offseason, no one that you will have heard of before. You were not following the Bulgarian league. You would not have heard of Nigel Roberta, for instance. So that's not where this team is going to make an impact. I think right now they're utilizing coaching philosophy and sort of a change in discipline and a change of systems to sort of pull them along and then see what they can get out of the players they have. Ernan has to have a transfer window or 2 or 3 to really bring in the players that he wants, because the players he wants they have lungs 3 times the size of a normal athlete. They want to run all game long. They can press for 90 plus, and he's cooking with other people's ingredients right now, and he'll get what he can get out of it. We'll see how that goes. I think that there's going to be a lot of player movement in the next 2 windows. But as far as do I see DC sort of regaining any of their past glory, I think we're years out. I think that the youth avenue is the way to do it. I don't think they're ever going to compete in the same way. They're not going to be bringing in $15 million players. That's not in the cards unless the team gets sold, and then anything can happen, I guess. Ted?
Yeah. That's sort of with the current ownership structure and the owners and everything like that, I kind of agree with that. I mean, basically DC United has been playing since they've got the stadium. They've been playing catch up. The neutral was being at RFK, doing all those things, and now they've been trying to play catch up with the rest of the league. The problem is that the league has basically been advancing since 2012, 2013. You've got teams like Seattle that have come in that have shown you can play at big NFL stadiums and sell out. Atlanta's come in, LA's come in. Obviously, FC Dallas is really committed to their academy. If you think about it, I really thought in the early days DC was going to capitalize on the talent we have in Northern Virginia. We had Andy Dahar and Bill Hamid, right off the bat.
Yeah.
Starters that, and eventually they sold Andy on, and now he's back in DC. And then literally there's been nothing for really since then. I mean, there have been some players that kind of maybe made some spot starts. So now we're maybe seeing hopefully a new generation. The team finally made their academy free. We have a training facility now that's being built. All those things 5 years ago would have been really cool to see. I don't think we would have paid much attention. But we had somebody, driving out to the Loudon United game who got some shots of the training facility, and we look at it and we're like, oh, that looks, we see the LAFC facility, New England Revolution facility, and ours looks like a field house. I mean, it looks like, what you would see out, like what I see at, Score in Richmond or something like that. It doesn't look like that's the state of the art facility. Now, it might be very nice in the middle, might really do the job well. The interior might be great, even if the outside doesn't look impressive. But you're seeing those things, and I think it's going to be a while because a lot of other teams are doing things that are far beyond what DC's been doing. And you play catch up. You catch up to one point, and by then the league is already advanced and has already gotten their teams that are doing things better. So I think it's going to, like I said, John, it's going to be a while. And I don't know if it'll happen at all. They might have to be a team that innovates a little bit, that comes up with a different way. I feel like by playing catch up, you're going to get to that point where you caught up to last year, and then by the next year everything's changed because this league is incredibly fast moving as far as a lot of things. So,
nah, man, you nailed it right there. This league is every year. It's like I keep telling people, because I'll talk to we like to call here the Euro snobs, the fans around here that just refuse to watch MLS even though they were born here. Anyways, I talk to them. They tell me oh, why would I watch MLS? This is a retirement. It's like, dude, when was the last time you actually watched MLS? Every year it's different, and that's the beauty of this league. Every year the quality just continues to get better. To Kyle's point, so besides being a big Philadelphia Union fan, I'm a big America de Cali fan. Marco Echeverri.
Yep.
Yes, yeah, he is. I love him, man. Even though he was a DC United guy, I love Marco Echeverri, man. He was the creativity on that guy, absolutely spectacular. All right, so to Tim and Justin here. So on our side, we listened to Jim's presser this week. Very interesting stuff. Talks of Casper potentially playing a 10, and we could potentially see Paxton sooner rather than later. Tim, man, well, first off on the Casper stuff, we'll talk about what was Jim talking about there, and will we see Casper potentially playing some 10?
Maybe we've talked a lot about the Union's struggle to score goals, except for in CONCACAF Champions League. We know Casper's putting in goals in Champions League, but best striker in Champions League. Yes, I know you keep bringing that up, best striker in Champions League, but right now we're talking about MLS play. Where head coach Jim Curtin might see him more as a number 10. They played him there for the last, maybe 10 minutes of the match or so against Red Bull. You didn't get to see too much. The game was kind of already, done at that point. But yeah, I mean, you can see him play there. He's pretty, creative on the ball. He shows that he can at least hold the ball up well, maybe make the right pass. If you have Corey Burke, who seems to be in form, and Sergio Santos, who has that, killer speed, and you want to play that way, maybe you see a little bit more of it. I would be shocked if Casper starts against DC at the
Really?
10. I think he's still a striker. I still think that's going to be how it goes. But I think Jim is going to be more willing to play him there, at least until the Union can show that they can create some more chances and some more actual goals. We'll have to see with that. And that kind of leads to Paxton Aronson as well. I mean, I know I was, talking with John and Ted on their podcast about, a possible homegrown player that could come up the ranks next for the Union. And I mean, I brought up Paxton because he's the name, he's the next Aronson brother who's supposed to be better than his brother. And we've seen what Brendan has done. I told them, Paxton hasn't seen the field yet, but we could be close to the debut. That's what Jim Curtin said in the press conference here yesterday. So, hey, maybe it'll be against DC. I'd be shocked if he starts. I don't think he's ready to start, but he's impressed in training. So, if he comes off the bench and, finds a way to get involved in a game against a team like DC, I think that would be good for the young kid. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. But, yeah, that's, the Union are maybe looking to shake a little bit things up here. Only 2 games left before that June break that they desperately need.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it is a little interesting that we haven't seen Paxton yet. Yeah. Only we've seen Jack. You've seen Quinn plenty already. Who am I missing? We actually haven't seen Jack DeVries, which has been interesting as well. But
he's been dealing with concussion issues, so I don't know if he's back yet. But he had a concussion early on in the season, which is why he left out.
Wait, oh no! I thought someone was referencing the Aurelian Colen. I had to stop real quick. But yeah. So I do think that we will get back to it there. All right. So, Justin, when do you expect to see Paxton Aronson out there, man?
I mean, Tim brought it up. We talked about it on Ted and John's pod. I think Paxton had all this hype, and I think it was something that I think we were putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
I mean, we know how good Brendan is, and we know the potential, but I mean, if you've watched all the games so far, it's been Jack McGlynn and Quinn Sullivan. Mm-hmm. And, it's like, at what point, we were wondering, like, is somebody running with Paxton? What's going on? And yeah, as Jim alluded to, that he said that Paxton the last few weeks has had great training. Like, he's shown, huge improvement, that he thinks he's getting close to being ready. I agree with Tim. I don't think he's going to start just because I think you still want to go with what you know, and I think you're going to see a pretty similar lineup to what you had against Red Bull. Maybe with Casper in this time. I think giving Casper a break, at least not playing a full 90, was huge. So I definitely see a similar lineup. And I could definitely see Paxton coming on for like 20, 25 minutes. But I think if you were going to get any more significant time, it'd probably be against Portland.
Interesting. I mean, I just would figure you'd be able to see him just for a couple minutes in a match that you're up like at least 2 goals or at least a goal. Because it's just, to me, it's just funny how we've heard all this hype and he hasn't come out. But Jim's got a plan. Jim's got a plan for everything. So we will in fact trust Jim. But to this match here on Sunday, what I wanted to get from Tim and Justin was your guys' thoughts, predictions on the lineup, and then we'll do the same with Ted and John on the potential lineup for DC. So Tim and Justin, I guess, Tim, you could start off here. What do you think the lineup will look like for our boys on Sunday?
Yeah, obviously it'll be 4-4-2 diamonds. You got Andre Blake always in the back. Backline is going to be the same. Jim Curtin does not rotate his backline. It just doesn't happen. I saw a stat on MLS's website that even though the Union have played the most games, even with CCL and the most games in MLS play right now with 6, they've only used 17 players, which is the least out of any team. Even DC, with all their hurt players, have played more players than the Union this year.
Wow.
So the backline is going to stay the same there. I expect El Brujo Martinez to be back at the 6. His suspension is up, so I think Jim will roll with him, play him there, and then move Leon Flock out to the shuttler midfield position on the left, Ale Bedoya on the right. Jamiro Montero moves back up to the 10, and then your strikers are going to be, I believe, Corey Burke and Casper. I know they're very similar, but Corey Burke seems to be the hot striker right now, and Casper, you can't really take him off the field. And I think you bring Sergio Santos off the bench as a late game sub to change the game type of player right now.
Interesting. Shouts to Paul Catrino with the clip from or the flick from the YouTube. It was a scrimmage, a little interleague scrimmage there. Yes, I'm real quick just to get off topic. Those U2 jerseys, please.
I wish they were in USL so we could actually watch them play. That's where I'm at with that.
Yes, that too for sure. But those kits, man, they're really nice for you. I guess I don't know what we're calling it now, but a reserve league. That's really really nice kits there, for sure. Justin, do you see any changes, or you agree with similar to what Tim said?
Yeah, I mean, you know how Jim is. I mean, the back line, the midfield are gonna stay pretty
Jim
consistent.
Sadi.
I mean, Jim is Jim. I've said this, that Jim doesn't rotate. Like, that's not his thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's been for good or bad, but he doesn't really rotate much. Maybe up top. Again, it's always, do you go with Corey and Casper? Do you go with Casper and Sergio? Or do you go with Sergio and Corey? I don't know. I think you're going to probably have you're probably going to have Casper and Corey and Sergio, because Sergio doesn't really play a full 90, at least, the way he plays. So him coming off the bench is a pretty good option. But yeah, I mean, it's Jim. Jim doesn't make many changes. That's how he is. We love him, but that's how he is.
We understand. We definitely understand there. All right, Ted and John, how's DC going to look against the Philadelphia Union on Sunday?
It's going to depend on who's healthy. I think is the main thing. I mean, the back line is pretty much set. It's going to be Fred Berliot, Brendan Heidzike, and Antonio Alfaro in that center defense, 3-man back line. The wing backs have kind of changed. We've seen Julian Gressel play there a lot. It's sort of the right wing back. And lately then we saw Andy Nahar. We've seen a few of the players play there. Center midfield is any combination of Moses Diamond, who's been a real bright spot if you want to talk about academy players. Pay attention to him. The guy's 17 out there and looks and plays better than I think some MLS players I've seen play there. And then it's either Junior Marino or Russell Canals out there. So Russell Canals has been, I think that's the real controversy in the lineup is what does that center midfield look like, the sort of first one, because Moses Diamond's been great. Junior Marino's been solid, and Russell Canals has also been good. Russell Canals got the coronavirus shot and then, or the vaccine, I should say, and then was out for a couple more games, was on the bench today, but didn't come in, bench last game, but didn't come in. And then, obviously Paul Arriola is getting healthy. He started in that wingback spot for Julian Gressel and looked pretty good. I'd be curious to see him higher up the field. And then the front three has been kind of has been changed around. And it seems like maybe there's kind of a consensus. I don't know if we'll see maybe Paul Arriola pushes in there, but it's been Drew Skundrich, who they signed literally on Thursday, and then he started in that position. He was originally slated to play for Loudoun, and then was signed a contract. Apparently, showed really well in preseason. Also, he is a is in a relationship with Andy Sullivan of the Washington Spirit, which has been kind of interesting.
Married to in a relationship.
Married. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were married in a relationship.
There's a difference here, Tad.
There is a difference. Well, I didn't know it was a relationship or if they were married, but
we appreciate with you not following up with DC pop culture there.
Hey, I don't want to put any pressure on Drew if it didn't happen. I didn't want to do that to him, so so he showed really well, and this team is kind of in flux. I think, John, you can drop in. I kind of went through it all.
You went through it all. It's an open question. The forward is really wild. Like the goal scoring forward situation is wild. We were already sort of concerned about the depth. Then they signed like six forwards, and now we're already down to the fifth and sixth guy pretty much. Oh. Everyone's hurt. Nigel Roberta comes over from full season playing at Levski Sofia, scored like 8 goals in 9 games, comes over, plays for I think 15 minutes and then 10 minutes, and then has been out ever since with scar tissue in his hamstring that they found. Ola Kamara has played 25 minutes so far this season, hamstring. And Adrian Perez, who I did a preseason article on the website, rfkrefugees.com, about all of our forward depth, and I forgot him entirely because we had so many random guys that he was a second round re-entry draft guy who came from indoor soccer.
Yes, that is my favorite stat. When I heard that, when he was at LAFC last year, I'm like, he's playing in indoor soccer. Like,
jokes on me. He has been very good for the 2 games that he has played. He played left wing back with 2 minutes notice before a game. And as a forward, he hasn't scored any goals, but he looked really good. Anyway, you said all the players. It's a question of who starts. Probably Adrian Perez again.
Yeah, and to add, just to add a little bit, we've been talking. Our really high paid player Edison Flores has been out there, and there are people who are ready to give up on him, and then there are people like me who kind of want to see more. And Adrian Perez kind of started with them. And there are those players that seem to think on the same wavelength. We saw it with Rooney and Acosta in 2018. Perez and Flores kind of started up top, and it was pretty clear that they actually were kind of on the same wavelength. They thought about the game the same way and looked really well. And I think Perez has kind of boosted him. So I think that's also maybe in the calculus here. He's like, here's a guy who may not be the best player on our team, but he links well with the player who should be our best player. And he's looked really good. So he's been a surprise. Really, this team has gotten like Adrian Perez, Drew Skundrich, Antonio Faro. Guys we had nowhere near on our radar this year at all of being players are starting for this team and are looking like some of the best players out there. So that's been, guys like Emil Assad who lit up the league in 2017 are very much far off the depth chart. Like we're kind of done with them, and we're talking about guys who, frankly, we're supposed to be depth or like even like down the roster. So it'll be interesting to watch how that develops once guys start to get healthy.
I mean, you guys forgot your leading scorer own goal.
Darn.
I mean,
oh man,
I'm looking at MLS stats here. I'm not seeing own goal. That's a pretty key contributor.
He's been a guest on our show after his 2-goal performance, and I'm sure that based on past performance, we'll probably see him again this season. So if you're ever interested in seeing what he thought about his game, and you see an own goal on DC United's stat sheet, tune into our show Monday nights at 8:30, and you'll get to hear him.
Sounds good. Sorry guys, let's get to the nitty gritty here. Let's get to some predictions here. We'll start off with our guests here, Ted and John. Give us what you think will happen in this match and a final score prediction. Well, Ted, you can start off here.
I mean, I was kind of listening to you guys earlier, and you guys didn't seem as high on your team, which I think is incredible, because I'm incredibly high on what you guys are doing up in Philly. I want DC to emulate what you guys do right now. Trust me, I'm extremely jealous of your team and how you guys play. I mean, I really think, and also Philly has been a real like sore spot for DC. I can't remember the last time we actually beat you guys. I talked about on our show when you guys were on that, I took my dad out to a game on Father's Day against you all, and it was like a 6-2 drubbing with like a red card and Ali Bedoya scoring on us like inside 5 minutes. So I am very negative. I think it's going to be a 3-1 win for you guys. I think you guys are gonna punk us in a lot of ways, and you guys always seem to do so. So, and then if I'm wrong, then I'm pleasantly surprised. So I think that's the coping mechanism I'm at right now.
Ted, to your point, in MLS play, we haven't really started off too hot this season. I think we'll be fine.
We're your jumping off point. That's what it's going to be.
If it wasn't Chicago, it'll be DC.
Welcome to Philly sports, where we freak out over every little thing here. No, I'm just kidding. But it's funny though, Ted, because when I talk to a lot of Union fans, we'll talk about like currently, but the back of their head, they have Club America in their head, and it's just so funny because like we'll talk about DC, and it's like but then Club America, we got the dates, and it's like there's a little bit of excitement with the Union, but it's not like during MLS play. So I'm glad you brought that up, Ted.
We might be coming. I don't know. We might come up to that game because my wife's a Club America fan from Mexico City.
Nice.
So,
Hey,
we might make a trip on.
Very cool. Don't tell her I root for Cruz Azul. Okay, just don't tell her that.
I won't. I won't tell her you root for Cruz Azul. So I won't tell her.
even though they drum Cruz Azul every time. John, what do you think's gonna happen on Sunday?
I'm gonna go optimistic. I'm gonna go. I think you guys have I think 2 more goals scored I think for the season than we do. We have 5, or maybe you guys have 8. I'm not sure. Anyway, neither of our offense are clicking. Our defense is actually more stingy than you'd expect. So I'm going to go 1-1 draw. That's my optimistic case.
Optimism is allowed here, John. So we appreciate that.
That's where I'm at. Then
we'll take it. We'll take it. All right, to the Union side, Tim, what do you think's gonna happen on Sunday?
I see the Union getting a win, and I think it's going to be 2-1. It's going to be a close game. DC is going to, I think, score first. It's going to shock the Union a little bit. It's going to make them wake up and find some goals. I don't know if it's going to be Casper dropping down to the 10, like Jim Curtin said in his press conference, or if it's going to be that we have a new signing, Daniel Gazdag, on the bench if he's actually in the country. We still don't know.
Yeah, figure that one out.
I doubt it, but hey, you never know. It's MLS, and it's crazy. But yeah, I think the Union find a way to score 2 goals, and they come home with 3 points.
Where in the world is Daniel Gazdag? That should be a fun game to play. Justin, give it to me, man. What do you think?
As I said on Ted and John's pod, I've been pretty wrong about the scoreline. So I've stopped trying to be a little more realistic and just kind of going with however I'm feeling. I'm gonna grab out of Tim's bag of delirious optimism. Is
delirious optimism?
Is that the word we're gonna use? The delirious optimism. I'm gonna go a 3-1 Union victory, and I'm gonna say that Paxton Aronson scores the 3rd goal.
Wow.
I'm gonna go
That's
a
bold.
little out here. I think like Tim said, I think DC does score the 1st goal. And I think it will shock this Union team because they seem to be able to in the past few years be able to respond pretty well to getting scored on. So I think they'll be able to handle it. But yeah, I'm gonna go a bit wild and say that Paxton Aronson scores a goal in his limited time on the field.
That's a bold move, Cotton. That's a bold move.
Be the second Aronson brother to score on their debut. I'm just saying.
Well, wait. DC needs to make a quick trade for Brad Guzan, so then he can make him and make it, keep it in the family.
That's true.
That's definitely true. Definitely true. All right, guys. That'll do it for this episode here. Ted and John, first off, man, thank you so much for both of you hopping on. You guys were truly a pleasure to talk to. You guys obviously know what the heck you're talking about when it comes to DC United and the MLS in general. But where can, as Ted is sideways, but guys, where can people find the RFK Refuge podcast?
I'll go as Ted is doing gymnastics on the you can go to rfkrefugees.com. That's the center home piece for everything you want to find on us. We write articles. We cover the spirit, We cover DC United. We cover sort of Loud United, not really, and the national teams. But rfkrefugees.com, you can subscribe there. We're on every social media you could find. All those things. RFK Refugees is our name for everything. So that's where you can find us if you're looking for us.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, guys, definitely check that out. Especially, you're ever interested in DC. It seems like you guys just cover DC soccer in general. So that's definitely very cool. So definitely check that out. Thanks again to Ted and John. Seriously, best of luck to both of you guys on Sunday, as well as the Union face off against a DC United. The rivalry continues. 1:00 kickoff down in Audi Field. So you guys make sure to check that out. Of course, I am joined by my co-hosts Tim Lovenguth and Justin Freiberg. I go by the name of El Parcero Philly. And ladies and gentlemen, we are telling you guys to DOOP on. Talk to you soon.